the lines tonight as we are in Montreal for the one and only meeting of these two teams this season. Manny Fernandez gets the start. Donald Audette just called from the minors. Let's officially set up our starting goaltenders. We'll start with Manny Fernandez. Mike, our Northland Ford goalie.
Well, we talked about him. He had a pretty good game against St. Louis. Was solid in that 3-1 victory. And he's 500 since coming back from that injury. At the other end of the ice, you won't see Jose Theodore. You see Matthew Garon, his 4th start of the season. One of those 3 games he's played in, a shutout.
Shutout, that was his first start of the year, February 9th against the Washington Capitals. Had a 42-save performance against the Bruins for another one of his 2 victories. He's got 2 wins and 1 loss. Jose Theodore let in a couple of bad goals the other night against the Washington Capitals, and he has dearly struggled. 7 of his last was involved the other day. Cody Cryer just picked up on waivers from the Rangers. He's been in a couple of fights already in a Montreal uniform. He tries to finish his check on Willie Mitchell. Head man to Andrew Brunette. Brunette will come across the line, flips it down towards Matthew Garon. NHL debut tonight for Francois Bouchamin. Just up from Hamilton, Stefan Quintal out a couple of weeks with a left hamstring injury. And so the quick call-up for the AHL defenseman. Bouchamin wearing number 36. Sergei Zholtok. Jim Dowd and Andrew Brunette together. This has been an effective line. Here's Brown trying to move in. Zholtok the shot. That was deflected into the pads of Garon off the stick of Andrew Brunette.
Well, one thing that coming back home gives you are a little bit of jitters, and Manny Fernandez may have made almost a crucial error here on Hossa, who bats it out of the air as Fernandez tries to go up the middle of it. It doesn't come to anything, but almost. And then down at the other end, a good quick shot. And you're going to see Garon try and freeze everything he can, having not played that many games this year, up.
Matthew Garon also, left-handed goaltender, a la Jose Theodore. Dumped in by Yannick Perreault.
Some people say they will catch with the wrong hand.
Well, as long as they catch it, it's all of a sudden the right hand.
That is going to make a difference, though, with how the Wild shoot on them and what they see when they come down.
Dougie Gilmour puts it in front. Yannick Perreault has not scored in the number of games since returning from a groin injury. He was on pace for 40 goals for a while, and he's been standing at 20 for nearly 10 games. Willie Mitchell down. Icing is waved off. Doug Gilmour on the forecheck, Walls moves it ahead. Cliff Bronning comes across the line, flips it down towards Garon. He gets a face full of snow, but he's able to catch with the proper hand.
Now they're going to need some good goaltending, because our Hardy's game plan will show you that the Habs have not really put a lot of pucks in the net, and that can't lead to a letdown for the Minnesota Wild. They haven't beaten the last 2 teams that they played that aren't in the playoffs. But of course, they have had success against the Eastern Conference. Hopefully that can continue this evening.
In danger of missing the postseason for the 4th time in 5 years, Montreal has lost 4 straight games, one of them in overtime. They've lost 5 of their last 6. Andrei Markov gets it over towards Saku Koivu. As I mentioned, Donald Audette at $3 million a year, Mike, was sent down to the minors. He was so dearly ineffective early in the season, they just called him up after 11 games in Hamilton. I mean, this is an NHL veteran who was down in the minors, who really needs to come and produce, especially offensively, because that's his game.
Well, yeah, and they're going to ask him to produce right on the top line, and so they're really going to give him an opportunity to jump in with both feet, and he has to take that. He said he has to control his own game, but basically he said part of his game is what he does away from the puck, because he's tried to play with the puck a little too much lately.
Jan Boulis had the only goal against the Capitals the other night for Montreal. He's been good as of late, so Koivu, Audette, and Jan Boulis make up the top line here tonight. Koivu and Richard Zednik split up for one of the few times this NHL season. Zednik leads the team with 25 goals on the season. Behind the net, Lubomir Sekerash. Sekerash in the lineup again. Played the other night against the Ottawa Senators and helped out on that power play goal. Moved ahead toward Jan Boulis. Audette on the forecheck to Lubomir Sekerash. Sekerash flips it, and it goes into the stands. We should mention, Mike, Brad Bombardier is a non-healthy scratch, but he's not hurt. He's just beat up. Matt Johnson and Jason Marshall out of the lineup tonight for Minnesota. Oleg Petrov, Andreas Dackl, and Patrick Traverse out for the Canadiens.
And that's going to mean some step-ups for the Minnesota Wild defense. Everybody's going to be playing stronger. Of course, Kuba out there a lot, so he'll be a leader. Zuzin back in the lineup after a game off, so he'll have to be solid as well. He'll get a lot of ice time.
Lubomir Sekerash. Puck is down towards Guerin. Let's talk Jose Theodore. What the heck is going on with last year's Hart and Vezina Trophy Award winner?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, you see a guy who really the team was leaning on last year, and it looked really good because when they leaned, he leaned back and held them up. This year, not so much coming back for him, and it's been a real tough year for him, and therefore a tough year for this team.
Some have said he was responsible for as many as 20 points himself in the regular season last year, with the way he was able to steal points for this Montreal team to get them into the 8th spot and stop their 3-year drought of not entering the postseason.
Well, last year he was 30 and 24. So far this year he's won 15 and lost 24. So half the wins, the same amount of losses. His other numbers aren't as good either, as goals against average 2.11 and a 93 save percentage. This year, at this point, a 3 and a 90 save percentage. So the numbers don't add up for him so far this season.
A lot of the coaches in Montreal have talked about trying to get him back so he can right the ship. Is that able to be done?
I think so. But you also have to keep in mind that you can't destroy him by being too tough on him. Sit him on the bench a little bit, let him think about it, but make sure he knows that he's still the #1 guy.
Oh, and that has been clearly pointed out by Claude Julien, the head coach. Moved ahead to Joe Juneau. Juneau gets it across. Nicholas Sundstrom, the former San Jose Shark, involved in the deal that sent Jeff Hackett to the Bruins, and of course Kyle McLaren to San Jose. Clay is right here in Montreal.
Yeah, guys, I talked with former Wild goaltending coach Andre Lebrun this morning, and he coached Theodore in juniors, and he lives here in Montreal, so he sees almost every home game. He said he's not surprised by Theodore's struggles because he hasn't shored up the holes in his game. His timing, how he challenges the puck, and so on. I said, well, how do you explain last year's MVP? He said, a lot of luck, and teams didn't exploit those flaws, but they are now.
Thank you very much, Clay. Patrice Brisebois to Richard Zednik. Zednik works it down low. Power play opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens. Holding on to that puck a little bit too long. Closing the hand on the puck was called against Andre Zuzin. And so Montreal has their first power play of the night. A big shot just goes wide off the stick of Zednik. And some interesting comments from Andre Lebrun, talking about last year not being the norm and maybe this year being the norm of the play of Jose Theodore. $5 million a year, let's hope it isn't the norm. He signed a big ticket. Andrei Markov, bouncing puck down low. Markov again, big drive, and that was blocked by Walls in front. Locks it and will try to play it out of the zone. Power play has struggled, as the Habs offense has struggled here as of late.
Well, some of the boos that you're hearing aren't for the Wild, Mike, and we thought we might hear this as Brisebois, every time he touches the puck, gets a few boo birds for his antics last week.
Greg Rivet touches, and Rivet will leave it and look for Doug Gilmour. Here is Doug Gilmour. Power play, as we mentioned, has not been good. One for its last 29 opportunities, including an 0 for 2 the other night at Washington for the Montreal Canadiens. Darby Hendrickson shot. Oh my, save made by Guerin. Puck was pushed back towards the left leg of Matthew Guerin. He's a big goaltender, much bigger than Jose Theodore. In fact, when he was drafted, many thought that he was going to be anointed the starter, and he was going to be the one to challenge for Vezina trophies. Instead, he was in the minors. Hackett was playing pretty well until he was hurt. And then when he was hurt, Theodore just went on a tear, and Guerin stayed in the minor.
And I think you have to also talk about the fact that they, I guess, directly and indirectly have said that Theodore's their #1 when they got rid of Hackett. Yeah, there was, you know, a little bit of competition there. You get rid of your competition, and that usually tells you that you're the guy.
Here's Susan, right out of the box and right into the play. His shot is wide glove side of young Matthew Guerin, the 25-year-old Quebec native. Well, the movie didn't star Chevy Chase. In fact, it starred Patrice Bouibois. It's called European Vacation. When you need a rest and the team gives you a week off and the doctor says you've got an irregular heartbeat, stress-related, and you need to get away. Get away is staying home with the family. Get away is not going to Paris, France. And that's what Patrice Bouibois did. And he asked Doug Risebrough, if one of his players ever did that, what he would do. And he, well, the look in his eye told us what he would do. That's a leader, too, when you're fighting for a playoff spot. It's been talked about a lot here. Take off and go to France. But he said the doctor said to get some rest. Oh, well.
He's got some air miles that were going to expire.
You know what? He makes enough money that he could have let it expire. Kuba trying to get it out of the zone. Top line. No longer on the ice. Jan Boulis now playing with Joe Juno and Nicholas Sundstrom. Boulis is in the top line tonight with Koivu on deck. Boulis still on. Sundstrom, as we mentioned, the former San Jose Shark. And finishing his check is the youngster in his NHL debut, Francois Bouchard. Jan Boulis tries to bring it across the line. Pascal Dupuis and Pierre-Marc Bouchard, so the two young Frenchmen are on this line together with Richard Park. Both excited to play here. Bouchard from Sherbrooke, Dupuis from Laval. That's where they grew up. Slot for Park. Quick shot, gloved and held on to by Guerin.
Well, Brunette took a hit, as you mentioned, Mike, from Bocheman, and he's wincing a little bit. It's got to be a physical game for Montreal because they haven't been putting the puck in the net. They need to have that ice opened up a little bit. Brunette put his right arm up in order to block some of that impact, but I think it may have jammed his shoulder a little bit. But he looks like he'll stay on the bench and be all right after he talks to Don Fuller.
Well, shoulders have always been a tender part of Andrew Brunette's body. He takes so much abuse the way he plays the game. Commiseric, the former University of Michigan Wolverine. He's just young and into the lineup, playing in his 4th game in the National Hockey League. Great intensity shown by that top draft pick in his days in the Maison Bleu. We'll see if he can be a solid defenseman here in Montreal. Carl Dykhouse moves it up. Dykhouse in his 11th NHL season, turned over. Here's Ronnie. Ronnie shot. Oh my! He had Guerin leaning, but missed on the stick side.
That's when you have to hit the net on. I know he was trying to pick a corner, but he had a couple of other bodies with him.
Dupuis trying to make the move around Dykhouse. Gives it to Bouchard. Bouchard to Susan. His shot was deflected wide off the stick of Yannick Perreault, right near the blue line. Yannick Perreault standing up the corner has top draft pick Brad Brown. Brown drafted by the Montreal Canadiens in 1994. Look at the move by Walls as he waits. Walls leaves it for Ronnie, and Ronnie pushes it behind the net. Top pick, 18th overall, was Brad Brown that year. Behind the net, it's Ronnie. Ronnie towards Loxton, and he got the shot away. That puck traveled over Markov and Perreault. It somehow found the tape of Archie Loxton, and in Montreal, we glad to get the puck down the length of the ice.
Well, you remember Ronnie cranked one off the post the other night, and he had a very good chance here this evening already. Got the C on that jersey. You gotta like to see that. Bombardier, of course, out of the lineup. Look at this. He looks, and it's a good shot, just a little bit wide. I'd like to see a rebound or a goal off that, of course, but Ronning has been solid since being moved to that wing, and he's getting some more opportunities offensively because of it.
Chad Kilger going to be thrown out of the faceoff circle. Wild have won 7 of the 10 faceoffs so far in the game. Hendrickson wins another. Good perseverance in the faceoff circle by Darby Hendrickson. Hendrickson with Marion Gabrick and Jeremy Stevenson. Gabrick with the 3rd goal of the night against Ottawa at the Corel Center on Tuesday. That breaking an 11-game goalless streak. Finishing his check is Gordy Dwyer.
What I like about that goal, too, Mike, it wasn't an empty netter, it wasn't a freebie. He earned that goal in a very Gabrick-like shot. And so that will definitely get his confidence going again.
Rive and Markov defensively. We'll see that pairing against Gabrick a lot. Puck is sent into the zone. Gordy Dwyer has it in the Minnesota zone to the point. Bouchard, his shot was just wide. Now it's on to Loxinen. Locks it in, the iron fist. Can't clear it out of the zone. Bouchard again. He's got good offensive skills. Has put up some pretty decent numbers in his minor and junior days. Circling low, the captain, Saku Koivu. Mikko Koivu, his little brother, of course, property in the Minnesota Wild. Here's Saku. Koivu, nifty pass to Breezebrook. Breezebrook shot. Blocked by Sekurat. Randy McKay, the former Devil, who was in Dallas at the end of last year. Kept in by Breezebrook. Jim Down tries to work it. Randy McKay has it. McKay on the crash line with Peluso and Holik in 1995 for the Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils. Coached by Jacques Lemaire. Running. Toes down, pokes at it. And Guerin in a full split is able to haul it in.
All right. Awesome start. You're looking great out there.
Awesome saves out there. Guys, first period starts in 5.
To the end of our losing streak.
Matvick back here in Montreal. What's on tap for the first intermission presented by Bud Light. We're going to say goodbye to our NHL insider, Tom Jones, from the Star Tribune. He's heading to FLA, back to his old newspaper in St. Pete. We're going to talk some news and notes with him, plus a recap. Guys, it's going to be tough to say goodbye to TJ.
There's no question about it. Going to FLA just like Dickie Dunn was going to go. You know, he's trying to capture the essence of things.
We'll just say until next time instead of goodbye.
That'll work. It's been a tough week. Yeah, he's so long to TJ. Been here since day one. Great writer. Star Tribune's loss, though, is the St. Petersburg Times game. Zoltak had his best season in a Montreal uniform when he had 26 goals a couple of years ago, and then things just kind of fell apart. They ended up trading him to Edmonton, and now he is here in Minnesota. Jacques Lemaire was in the upper management of the Canadiens when Zoltak had that fine season. I think he had a little something to do with Zoltak arriving in Minnesota. Park to Dupuis. Dupuis the shot. Guerin holds on.
It's funny you mentioned Zoltak. He has a pretty good shot. So does Dupuis, and he likes to use it. Went on to that little slump there for a while in the middle of the season, but he got it back, and since then he's been very productive, and productive in terms of getting good chances, getting scoring opportunities. And look at the quick release. He pulls it off his stick, and he gets it to a better angle, the best angle he can in the time that he has, and he puts one on net. Guerin has made some pretty good saves in this game
so far. So good. And his start with Jose Theodore on the bench. Bouchard leaves it for Dupuis, the wraparound shot, score! Pascal Dupuis with a quick move. Richard Park with the finish, and Minnesota strikes first. All set up by the pretty pass by Pierre-Marc Bouchard.
He is maturing rapidly and gets a good pass over there. Park scores from what seems like an impossible angle, and Dupuis sets up a nice play. Look at him backpedal behind the net. He wraps it around, and in missing, he actually makes a pass to Park, who of course scored last game. He scored the first goal against Ottawa a couple days ago, and now scores the first goal this evening against the Canadiens.
I don't even think Pascal Dupuis, from his angle of vision, knew the puck went in the net right away. Gilmore is on the ice with Yannick Perreault and Richard Zednik. Left for Susan. His drive is over the net. That was deflected in front. So Park scores, as Mike said, again. And Minnesota with an outstanding record when scoring the first goal of any contest they have played this year. Brisebois back to get the puck for Montreal. Brunette keeps it in at the blue line. Brunette trying to spin. Gabrick looking. Mitchell a shot. Bouncing puck. Gabrick fighting for it. Bouchaman stayed on him. Now it's Jim Dowd. Dowd, Gabrick, and Brunette together here. Gabrick pushed off the puck by Yannick Perreault. 12:20, the time of the goal. 13th, a career high for Richard Park. Every goal will add to his career high. Willie Mitchell tries to get it in. Kuba moved ahead to Andrew Brunette. And into the zone. Zoltak looks in front. Carl Dykhouse. Dykhouse comes across the line. Dykhouse. Hernandez will hold on. Well, Mike, how about the fact that Park scores, but yet the two young French Canadians, Pascal Dupuis, Pierre-Marc Bouchard, factor in the goal, helped to set it up. You know it's a magical night for those two.
It certainly is, and like I said, it's a night where you have to get rid of those butterflies early, and this certainly will do it for them. They're performing very well. You know, it's funny, Bouchard, who didn't play played 2 games straight only once before he went off to the World Juniors, has played 20 consecutive games, so he's getting the ice time, and it looks like he's making good use of it.
Now, they were having some fun, both interviewed by the French-speaking media in the last 2 days here.
A circus, I guess you'd call it. It's there was a throng.
Well, it's a circus if you're not here every day.
Yeah.
It's normal if you are here every day.
Because it's all a relative.
Walls leaves it back, Ronning. Ronning to Schultz. Schultz looking in front. Pad save and a good one by Guerin in traffic. Here's Nick Schultz again. Schultz still has it. Fires. And Guerin will hold on. Lots of pressure here in the first by Minnesota. 11 Stanley Cups, 10 with Montreal. 8 as a player, 2 as an executive, 5 under Scotty Bowman, Jacques Lemaire. He's always excited when he lands here in Montreal. He's always equally as excited when the plane leaves, I think. Back to some normalcy for him. Zednik, Sekarash, Dupuis and Bouchard. They help out Richard Park as Park scored the first against Ottawa. He scores the first here. And Minnesota has the lead on Montreal. Doug Gilmour. Gilmour trying to come up with the puck. Left it back towards Yannick Perreault. Perreault was on a tear, as I mentioned, and things have slowed dearly. Park moves it to Dupuis. Standing him up was Brisebois. Gilmour. And Marion Gaborik gets it to Brad Brown. Yannick Perreault, 9 games without a goal. Penalty going to be called on the Montreal Canadiens as Buchanan touched the puck just slightly, and possession is held. Going to be a high stick.
Well, this will give Minnesota Wild a chance to build on that 1-0 lead that they have. Right in the middle of the picture is a high stick up on Gaborik. Wasn't much, but it doesn't have to be. I think it clipped the shoulder, the cap on the shoulder pad of Marion Gaborik. Zednik, speedy forward, used to be with Washington and has actually excelled here with Montreal.
He had a nice playoff last year. Was rocked though in that playoff, remember?
Yep.
That was the end of that. Joltok will come in and take the faceoff. He will take this draw against Nicklas Sundstrom, controlled by Minnesota. First power play of the night. Joltok waits. Joltok to Brunette. Brunette to Jim Dowd. Dowd back down towards Brunette. Rivet in on him. Dowd has it. Brunette behind. Looking, running. Stick broke. His stick broke in an awkward place. And he'll rush off and try to get some new lumber. Zuzin gives it off to Jimmy Dowd. Joltok sees him breaking in. Brunette's back in front of the net. Joltok leaves it to Jim Dowd. Dowd, Juno was on him. Leaves it down low, Brunette. Brunette trying to fight through his own rubbish to the broken stick. Susan the shot. And it's blocked in front, knocked out of the zone by Juno.
A lot of offense from defense from the Minnesota Wild the last few games. Not necessarily scoring, although they have had a couple defensemen score, but a lot of generating of the offense from the blue line. And right there you saw a great shot by Zuzin right through traffic.
Well, as you saw graphically, Canadians have struggled dearly on the penalty kill. Not surprising when the goaltending hasn't been up to snuff.
Such a big part of the penalty kill. Positioning, just good hard work. Now that's what penalty killing is about, but you're right, you do need that backstop there.
Montreal was tied for 5th in the NHL in penalty killing last year. Give you 2 reasons for that. First was Jose, second was Theodore. Chad Kilger brings it across the line. Kilger, kind of a solid 3rd, 4th line player here in Montreal, but not really ever developing into what the Ducks thought he would be when they made him their 1st round pick. 4th overall back in 1995. Kilger in his 3rd season here. Actually came from Edmonton for Sergei Joltok a couple of seasons ago. Puck sent out of the zone, just 8 seconds left on this power play opportunity. 11 shots for Minnesota, just 5 for Montreal here in the first period of play. 1 shot on the power play. Montreal didn't generate a single shot when they had the man advantage. Locks it in on the forecheck. 5-on-5, Montreal's dead even. 118 goals for, 118 goals against. So it hasn't been the 5-on-5 that's hurt them so dearly this year. Locks it in. Brisebois picks it up. Brisebois shot right back in the lineup and played 22 minutes against Washington 3 nights ago. That was Monday night in the nation's capital. Brisebois trying to dig it away from Hendrickson. In deep to help is Juno. On the forecheck is Gabrick. Stevenson will do the same. And the puck is sent out. Nicholas Sundstrom has it. Sundstrom gets it across towards Randy McKay. Hendrickson tries to catch up to McKay. McKay and Dowd, teammates in 95 with New Jersey. Played by Jeremy Stevenson. And Stevenson pushes it into the zone. Komisarek was right on him. Komisarek trying to use that big 6'4", 225-pound frame. Going to have another penalty call. This is going to be for a hold. It looks like it's going to go against Marian Gabrick.
Yeah, holding the stick as he was being checked along the wall. And the stick came in around his waist. I think he just grabbed onto it and tried to keep the puck. Second into the boards, but eventually he gained position and got the puck. But there he is holding the stick so he can gain better position. The referee standing right there will nail him for that. First penalty kill of the game here for second, excuse me. Minnesota Wild killed the first one off nicely.
Not a single shot on that first opportunity. Koivu gets it back to Markov. Remax power play numbers. Second power play for Montreal. Third of the first period. It's about even with the game clock, so it could go to the end of the stanza. Walls trying to bust out shorthanded. Markov catches up to him, and Walls will take it. No offside as the Canadian player knocked it back into the zone. Flipped in by Loxton in, and some fresh bodies on the ice for Minnesota. Nice ceremony to begin things for Jacques Lemaire and the crew. Doug Risebrough, Guy Lapointe, and Mario Tremblay. Part of the most successful team, Mike, in NHL history. And Clay talked to Mario Tremblay before the game. 60 victories, 132 points in the standings that year, and of course hoisted Lord Stanley's Cup. They were as dominant as we have ever seen really in any professional sport.
Yeah, 132 points. I mean, you know, they talk about getting 100 points as a real nice benchmark for some of the top teams in each conference, but when you get that many points, boy, you're doing something right.
Park drags down Markov. Play's going to go on. Markov tries to get Park back. Park got a shot off in the process. 1 second differential between the penalty time and the game clock time. 1:08 remains here in period number 1. Locks it in, will dump it out. Quickly the Bluebirds starting to establish themselves in this always tough place to play. It's great when it's going well, but not so fun when things are, well, as they are lately. Craig Rivet, Gilmore, Marcel Hossa leaves it to Brisebois. He mishandles. And there's the Bluebirds. Yannick Perreault. And a whistle and a stoppage in play. Brisebois, you know what? He's been here a long time, Mike. He's played his entire career here, in fact.
The only one left from the 93 Stanley Cup, too.
But one trip to Paris, and all of a sudden you're not so loved, are you?
Well, you remember Vladimir...
At least he didn't go to London, England.
No.
He did go to France.
Yeah, remember Vladimir Melikov a few years ago? He did something relatively similar. He's recovering from knee surgery, decided to take a little skiing trip.
Yeah.
He did obviously was moved off to New Jersey after that. And ironically, he won a Stanley Cup with them in 2000. I don't know what kind of moral to the story that is, but I don't know if you'll see him move, but certainly not appreciated in, like I say, the stunt that he pulled a little while ago.
$4 million a year. Second highest paid Canadian after now young Jose Theodore. 35.1 seconds remains in the period. Minnesota leads 1-0 on the goal by Richard Park, Pascal Dupuis, and Pierre-Marc Bouchard pick up the helpers. 12:20 in the first period. Flipped over towards Gilmore, handled that one and escaped quite nicely. Gilmore brings it into the zone. Dougie Gilmore to Marcel Hossa, back in front. Perreault the shot. Hossa is on it. Fernandez tries to freeze, and finally the whistle will sound. Good skirmish in front of Manny Fernandez.
Well, Yannick Perreault, desperate to get back on the scoring ways. He really drove at the net and tried to pick up that loose puck that bounced around in front. This is the best chance that they've had all game from something that they've produced. Of course, you remember that little miscue that Fernandez had on Hossa early in the game, but This one more legit, if you want to call it that. And some good pressure there by Montreal. The first we've seen all period long, and it comes with 11 seconds left in the first.
No goals in 9 games, just 1 in his last 20 for Perreault. The best face-off man in the National Hockey League the past couple of seasons, at over 61% last year. Minnesota's going to kill off the period and kill off the penalty. And as it was 2 nights ago, they are going to go into the locker room, courtesy of a Richard Park goal, with a 1-0 lead.
And we know how much they enjoy the lead. They play their game, they play their style, and they certainly are in good position here on the road.
The difference tonight, Minnesota was the dominant team in the first 20 minutes of play. A farewell to TJ, Tom Jones, our NHL insider, when we come back. Special night, and we somewhat told the story of the previous trip here into Montreal when discipline was, well, not so much a factor as it usually is with this team. And Wes Wall still calls that practice the next day the hardest practice in Minnesota Wild history, saved by Manny Fernandez. And it went on from there, Mike. It went on for a few more days. And so the whole itinerary for this trip was changed. We stayed in Ottawa instead of coming to Montreal. There was a 4 o'clock practice, which leaves the temptations other than to go to dinner and go to bed out of the wall. And something tells me it was like the old college time. Knock on the door and make sure you and your line mate are in the room together.
You know, and you also have to look at one thing. When that happened, it was middle of December.
Yeah.
Now, and it was a different season. Now that they're in this situation in a playoff run, I don't think they would have been tempted anyway, but take it out of their hands.
Yeah, Rivet. Manny Fernandez trying to take that puck into his hands, and Rivet sends it in. And that's not to say that that's a regular occurrence, because it's not. The majority of the players in the NHL are extremely disciplined. Markov, but they also try to have some fun once in a while. So by no means should we say that that's a regularity, because obviously it has not been. And it won't be with Jacques Lemaire around, or guys won't last very long. And in fact, if you don't take care of what you have to do on the ice, off the ice, Mike, you're not going to be able to perform on the ice. Dykhouse. Everybody fighting for jobs is too competitive not to take care of the body properly. Komisarek. He's being tied up by Wes Walls, 21-year-old Islip Terrace, New York native. Here's Jean Boulis. Just missed Saku Koivu. Good back check by Marion Gabrick. Boulis leaves it down to Donald Audette. Donald Audette wearing 82, shot from the bad angle, saved by Manny Fernandez. Koivu in front, Audette on the backhand. Puck is still free. Shot was knocked down. Koivu got a swing at it. Audette went to center, and it goes right under the body of Manny Fernandez and out of the zone.
Fernandez had sprawled forward, and he was still down when that second shot came. Somehow it either hit him or his defense.
Saku Koivu just misses Donald Audette. As we mentioned, Audette just recalled from the minors. He was in Hamilton, played 11 games there. He was very non-productive prior to that.
Well, Montreal had a pretty good scramble, and their only real chances in this game have come from a scramble situation. Look at this in front. It's broken up a little bit, but the puck's still loose. There's the shot that I was talking about. Fernandez had sprawled forward and scrambled back to his post. And a couple of good chances there, and Montreal starting to put a little bit of pressure on. That was Koivu who got the shot.
Yannick Perreault loses that draw. Bouchard jumped in quickly. Park took the face-off. Bouchard helped to win it for Minnesota. Puck is still inside the Minnesota zone, though. Mike Goldberg, Mike Greenlay, Clay Matvick, our crew from Fox Sports Net. Here in the beautiful province of Quebec tonight. Brisebois in front. And Fernandez stayed strong on the stick. Gilmore back defensively. Doug Gilmore. Hall of Fame numbers. He is a true warrior. Kingston, Ontario. Zednik puts it in. Perreault on the forecheck. Gilmore piles in to Richard Park. Set off the glove of Manny Fernandez. The point shot by the youngster Francois Bouchemin, playing in his first NHL game. Gilmore shot knocked down. Brisebois. He fires again. Delayed penalty is going to be called against Minnesota. Yannick Perreault cycles it back towards Zednik. Zuzin touches. And we're going to have the penalty called.
Well, whenever you put pressure around a net, that's where you're going to draw penalties. And that line got in there very good, worked hard, kept the puck down low, and it draws a penalty. It's going to be Zuzin, his second offense of the game. You remember he closed his hand on the puck early in the first period. So another minor penalty here to the Minnesota Wild will put the Canadiens in a good position as they put their #1 line out there.
Donald Audette going to get a chance on this power play unit. Was 5 goals last year, but he was hurt most of the year. Had that severed ligament in the skate. Busted up the wrist. Missed the majority of the season. He was very good in the playoffs, though, Mike, last season.
He actually led their team in scoring in the playoffs, and so that was a good mark for him coming into this season. But it just didn't. It just didn't transcend the summer.
Audette with the severed ligaments in his wrist came in really wanting to produce this year, and hasn't worked so well. Koivu. We'll see what he does as the Canadiens try to make the playoffs. 4 points out of the playoffs right now behind Boston. Going to be a penalty called in the neutral ice area.
Well, Park draws one. I think it's going to be interference.
Yep.
Yes,
that'll even things up.
That's one thing the Minnesota Wild, they play like this all the time, but on the penalty kill, they certainly play like this. It's a tenacious style and a good hard forechecking style. And generally, with the speed that they have, you have to drag them down to stop them. And that includes the penalty kill. And so, as you said, Mike, evens things up as Bullis goes in for interference.
Markov to Perreault, so 4-on-4 for 1 minute and 15 seconds. Jan Bullis in the box for Montreal, and Minnesota's Andre Zuzin serving the rest of the call that went against him. 0 for 3 now on the power play are the Montreal Canadiens. Perreault, the shot, the save by Manny Fernandez. To the point, Rive. That shot was just wide. Markov had snuck in. Gabrick will get to the loose puck first. Gabrick stops and waits. Gabrick to Schultz. Back to Marian Gabrick. Gabrick looked to the point in Sekarash. Andre Markov. Here's Marian Gabrick. Gabrick is yet to see a shift. Well, here's one right here. Check that against Marcel Hossa. They're on the ice together. Both in a 4-on-4 situation. Both explosive skaters. Sekarash is also on the ice right now, so the Trenton trio is on the ice. We saw that a few times the other night with Marian Hossa of the Ottawa Senators, one of the top goal scorers in the National Hockey League. Hossa trying to work around Sekarash. Sekarash was a way older brother to these youngsters and one of their heroes. There's no question about that. Speaking of a hero, how about this guy? Doug Gilmour, one of the best of all time. Our Jeep scouting report, Mike, 1,413 points, 13th all time. He has truly Hall of Fame numbers.
He certainly does, and it's you know, you keep seeing him year after year, and not that you want to see him retire, but you thought that he may have, but he still has that determination to play, and he adds a lot to the line. I mean, I'm always surprised when I see him to see how small he is. He's not a very big guy, but he plays so big, and he puts that body to good use on the ice. You think he's a lot bigger man than he is.
Well, he is. His heart is pretty large. He pondered retirement this past summer. Minnesota on the power play just for another 25 seconds as Bullis is in the box and Zuzin is out of the box. Brunette, Dowd, Zoltok, Mitchell, and Philippe Kuba. Chad Kilger gets it over. Sundstrom gets it out. Gilmour, 5th in active points, 6th among active players in assists, 6th among active players in games played. Mark Messier on top of most of those categories. Mitchell. Francis is the assist leader amongst active players. Jim Dowd had a good chance in the first period. He bounces it down to Sergei Zoltok. Zoltok waits. Zoltok just fired wide. Blocker side of Matthew Guérin. Behind the net, Sergei Zoltok. Randy McKay will pick it up, and he pushes it out of the zone. Minnesota 1 shot on 2 power plays. So far in the game, Bouchard waits and leaves it to Dupuis. Dykhouse got a stick on it. Puck goes into the netting, and we have a stoppage in play. And speaking of the veteran Doug Gilmour, he is the subject of tonight's Treasure Island Resort and Casino trivia question, and the question is, can you name the 7 different NHL teams that Doug Gilmour has played for? He was the captain in a couple of spots, Toronto and Chicago, so we'll give you those 2. Let's see if you can come up with, well, you know, Montreal, another 4.
Oh, you're giving them all away.
Well, I have them all here.
So do I, but I'm not giving them away.
Well, we play St. Louis on Saturday.
Where am I from?
Calgary. That's not fair. All right, Park. Gets it in front. Dupuis on the backhand. And a save by Guérin. Matthew Guerin keeping the Habs in the contest.
Pascal Dupuis does good work along the wall. What you want to do is beat your defender off the wall. Well, he makes the pass, and watch how he goes to the net after he pokes the puck free. He beats his defender off the wall. He gets a shot on net. Good job there by Dupuis.
Ronning the same. Good job to get the shot off the faceoff win. Ronning with Walls and Antti Laaksonen tonight on the top checking line. Going against Sundstrom, Joe Juneau, and young Marcel Hossa tonight. Hossa was fun to talk to this morning. By Matt Vick and myself, Mike Greenlay in the Canadiens locker room. We're going to report on that fine relationship a little later in the game from play. Hossa and Gabrick hang out a ton in the offseason in Trenton, Slovakia. Rive shot was blocked by Walls. Walls is off to the races. He's got Laaksonen behind. Oh my, backhand off the post. Walls went short side backhand and hit the post. Laaksonen was there trying to bust in. Walls didn't have much other space to move as quick moving Andrei Markov was in pursuit of him. Mitchell trying to bump it out of the zone, kept in by Juneau, played by Dwyer, and the shot was blocked by Mitchell. Patrice Brisebois, Hendrickson overskates. Brown will pick it up. Brown, a former Montreal Canadian, Chicago Blackhawk, Toronto Maple Leaf. He's been in the good ones.
Yeah, 3 of 6 of the original.
Yep, or pardon me, Rangers, not the Leafs. Pardon me. Yep, 3 of the 6 though. Shot by McKay, pad save by Fernandez. He's from Toronto, so we can count that as kind of an asterisk, I guess. McKay, long-time New Jersey Devil and a character player. Gordy Dwyer. Dwyer ahead towards Kilger. Brown has it, and Brown sends it in. 2-on-1, and Brown takes both bodies and bumps it around. Kilger bumps into Stevenson as Jeremy Stevenson went in towards the net. Pushed in by the young NHL rookie making his debut, Bouchemont. Francois Bouchemont. Donald Audette. Audette, the Montreal native, trying to center the puck. Had a 30-goal season in Atlanta a few years ago on a forward line with Ray Ferraro and Andrew Brunette. Back through the first half of the season, Mike, they were as good as any line in the National Hockey League. All 3 are no longer with the Thrashers. Shot just wide. Boulis took the pass from Donald Audette. Ferraro's retired, although he retired after playing in the playoffs late last year with the St. Louis Blues. Brunette in Minnesota, and Audette, a couple of stops since Atlanta, and he is now here, of course, in Montreal. He didn't last long in Dallas, did he?
That was a quick move. LA, then Dallas, and quickly on to Montreal, and then some problems.
Down finishes his check on Koivu. Komisarek will pick it up. Left after his second collegiate season, did 21-year-old Michael Komisarek. Played through the neutral ice area. Jan Boulis gets it over to Gilmore. Gilmore to Koivu. Koivu's shot was blocked by Schultz. Here's Koivu again. Koivu circling. Onto the stick of Andrei Markov, their most talented young defenseman. He has some serious offensive skills. 30 points on the season for young Andrei Markov. Here's Walls. Shot. He scores! Walls with that nifty quick move to the forehand. He goes 5-hole on Matthew Guerin, and Minnesota leads 2-0.
That was almost carbon copy of the chance he had last time he was on the ice, and the puck kept moving until he just scored the goal. Here's the first chance he had earlier on. He came in, went backhand, and it went off the pipe. A good chance there. Well, this time he learned from his mistake, and he said, I'm going to shoot it this time. I'm not going backhand shelf. And he puts it 5-hole on a good, quick snapshot. Boy, as Walls come around here in the last little while, and he's putting the puck in the net from good defensive plays.
Now, the first multi-point goal performance of his career came against Montreal, January 8th of 2002. The win at the XL Energy Center for the Minnesota Wild, 4-2. These two teams split the 2 meetings last year. Walls scores here tonight. Richard Park has scored here tonight. 9:07 the time of the goal. Cliff Ronning picks up the lone assist, and Minnesota leads 2-0.
Well, Wes Walls talking a little bit this morning about staying focused, and he has been focused in this game. You know, we talked about the transition game so much with the Minnesota Wild, and you see right there, playing good position in the middle of the ice, puck bounces into their feet, and he turns it around into an offensive chance, and that's one of the big differences in his game in the last couple years, is that he's learned how to go from defense to offense.
Well, he was all offense before. But with that great explosiveness and that great speed, Mike, that you and I have talked about on numerous occasions, he has the ability to do it. And that's where the misconception of the Jacques Lemaire system, I think, truly comes into focal point. Yes, be defensively responsible first, but when the opportunity arises, explode and go for it.
Well, earlier on this season, I asked Jacques Lemaire, do you mind your defenseman jumping into the play? He said, I don't mind at all that they jump into the play. Just don't get caught. So he does want you to take care of business, but he doesn't mind you getting offensive chances through hard work and good sound play.
Zednik across the line to Doug Gilmour. Zuzan looking for it. Played by Montreal. Yannick Perreault. Yannick Perreault, Doug Gilmour, Richard Zednik. Zednik and Koivu not playing together here tonight. Bouchard, the Sherbrooke, Quebec native. Zednik the drive. Good pad saved by Manny Fernandez, and he leaves no rebound.
Boy, was he out like a cat on that one, right to the top of the crease.
Wes Walz has 12 on the year, 2-goal lead. Face-off inside the Minnesota zone. Saku Koivu will be tossed from the face-off circle. Jan Boulis will take the draw down, wins it. Gets it over to Willie Mitchell. Mike Goldberg, Mike Greenlay, Clay Matvick. 2-0 Minnesota leads. Richard Park is 13th from Dupuis and Bouchard. The two young French Canadians down the shot. Brunette, the deflection just wide. Walz his 12th of the year from Cliff Ronning. For Dupuis and Bouchard, somewhat of an expensive trip here to the province of Quebec to see family and friends. I'm sure they had to buy dinner last night for a bunch of relatives. They're from right around here, as is Jacques Lemaire. Alma, Quebec, the home of Mario Tremblay, about 6 hours away. Donald Audette. Audette behind the net. Audette waiting, looking. Audette Boulis, another save by Fernandez. Fernandez staying very strong. Manny Fernandez, Etobicoke, but as you mentioned, played all of his youth hockey from 2 years old on right here in the province of Quebec in French Canada. Moved ahead by Joltok. And they have a whistle and a stoppage in play. Nice group of Wild fans making the trip from the Twin Cities. Some sponsors and partners of the Minnesota Wild. They had a little fun in Montreal. There's a good amount of people in this building tonight who are rooting for the Minnesota Wild in this bastion of hockey, believe it or not.
Well, yeah, we talk so much about the storied franchise and the success of the Montreal Canadiens in pro sports in general. Of course, 24 championships puts them right up there near the top, of course.
We're trying to figure out, you and I, with Guy Charon, who's more successful, the New York Yankees or the Montreal Canadiens all time. They both have absolutely been dynasties. And as the decade of the 70s was to Montreal, the decade of the 90s has been to the New York Yankees. And this isn't the first decade the Yankees were dominant, nor the first decade the Canadiens were dominant, but one could say it was the last decade in which they were dominant. One cup in the 90s, that 93. One cup in the 80s, that being 1986. So many cups in the 70s, though. Jeremy Stevenson to Darby Hendrickson. Gabrick waits and holds. They had gone 29 seasons without missing the postseason at one point. Then just had that streak snapped a few years ago. Marcel Hossa picks it up. And Guérin will hold on, and we will check in with Clay Matvick.
An expensive trip to Montreal indeed. Talking to Pascal Dupuis and Pierre-Marc Bouchard this morning. They paid for 50 tickets each. And that's not to mention the people that paid their own way here. So a lot of people here to see those two guys. Of course, Fernandez, Jacques, and Mario, they all bought some tickets tonight. Media relations and team services guy Brad Smith told me he signed out for 300 post-game passes down here around the locker room after the game tonight. So it's going to be a big party, and all the better, of course, if Minnesota wins. Back to you.
Well, Dupuis involved in that one. Dupuis able to draw the penalty. And you know what? It's going to be better if they win. It's better that these young players are contributing. And one could argue that that is as pleasant a story in the National Hockey League, Pascal Dupuis, as any this season.
Well, Pascal Dupuis, of course, has been a great story from when he came from junior because of the injury that led him to not being drafted. And you'll see him go and take that stick right up high in the face by Kilger. But just his whole pro career has been one success after another, and sky's the limit for him right now. He just continues to get better. And he's definitely learning this game at this level.
Face-off won by Minnesota. Zoltok shot gloved by Guerin. Brunette was right in front of the net. You know, the Montreal media is, oh man, they're so intense. They made things a little tough for Jacques Lemaire and Mario Tremblay when they were the head coaches here, of course. They made things a little tough on Sergei Zoltok as well when he was here. Ronning, as I mentioned, everything is under a microscope here in Montreal. More intense than any microscope one could get in chemistry class.
Well, one of the funny things that Lemaire was saying is that when they played, they used to have the tape off their shin pads and everywhere that they put tape. 5 minutes left in the hockey game so that they could get out of their equipment and get out of the rink as quickly as possible after the game.
Is that right?
They wouldn't have to talk to anybody.
There you go. I'm out of here. Gotta go. Zoltok.
Of course, rules say that they can't do that now.
Here's down shot, rebound! Sekarash almost put it home. Down went flying into the Montreal net. Ronning fakes the shot, tries to work around Jan Bulis. 1:05 remains in the penalty to Chad Kilger for the high stick. 6:40 remains here in the second period. Minnesota with 20 shots in the game. Montreal now with 19. 5-4, 3-2-1 tonight right here on Fox Sports Net at 10:30. Lubomir Sekarash. Sekarash ahead to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Bouchard will dump it into the zone. A whole lot of post-game passes, isn't it? Moved ahead, Sundstrom.
Brad Smith has writer's cramp.
Yes, he does. Dupuis. He's bounced into the sideboards by Brisebois. Kuba keeps it in. Kuba waits, holds. Brisebois got back in the play. Kuba sent it on net, trying to get it onto the stick of Dupuis or Bouchard. 20 seconds left in the man advantage. Park and Walls for Minnesota. Their 13th and 12th goals of the year, respectively. Bouchard has it, brings it across the line, leaves it for Souza, the shot, and Guerin will make the save again.
Guerin, good job shutting that down. Zuzan's had a couple pretty good opportunities in this hockey game, and he missed the last game, as we mentioned. Nice little feed there across the line from Bouchard, who had an assist, and there's the reaction of the Montreal coach as he grimaces to see another point-blank shot on his young goaltender, Matthew Guerin.
Mitchell the drive, and the pad save made by Guerin. Out of the box comes Kilger. Mitchell again, and it's pushed away by Guerin. Wilder peppering Guerin one more time. Another. Stevenson looks for the loose puck. Hendrickson fights for it. 5 shots on that last power play for Minnesota. 6 total in their 3 power play opportunities here tonight. Park sends it down and around. 5:13 remains in period number 2. Mitchell just pushes it across, and Andrei Markov picks it up. Markov, 24-year-old Russian. First year in North America was last year, and he had a pretty strong season. Right now, though, the Wild are the stronger of the 2 teams.
Well, that man right there, Dwayne Rollinson, was tutored by Roland Melanson, who's a goalie coach, assistant coach here in Montreal. And, you know, Melanson's the one who's converted Rollinson to the butterfly style that he now so successfully plays. He used to be a skate-save goaltender, and of course, Melanson, as I mentioned, an assistant coach here in Montreal.
Bulis with the fancy move. Tied up, though, couldn't finish. Penalty's going to be drawn, though, by Jan Bulis. Donald Audette has it. Audette bumped into the boards by Philippe Kuba. And we'll check in with Clay.
All right, guys, real quick, here's our Wells Fargo High School Hockey Report. And, of course, as you know, the boys' state high school playoffs going on. Centennial beat North St. Paul 5-rip Wednesday in Section 3AA. Centennial will face White Bear Lake Friday in the 3AA finals. Coon Rapids beat Elk River 3-2 in Section 4AA. Tim Evans had a couple of goals in that one. That's our Wells Fargo High School Hockey Report.
Clay, thank you very much. Always look forward to that big weekend at the XL Energy Center, in which the best in high school hockey gets to raise their trophy. Pascal Dupuis for holding. 15:25 the time of the penalty. Fourth power play for Montreal. They've averaged 1 shot per power play opportunity. Markov, Audette. Audette, a 6-time 20 goal scorer, 2-time 30 goal scorer. Leaves it down low to Saku Koivu. Donald Audette waits and holds. Audette looking in front, gonna have another penalty. Is that gonna be against Mitchell? Yep. Mitchell might get a cross check on Saku Koivu. Slash.
It's going to be a slash.
Same, right?
Yeah. Hey, it's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes, and he was giving him a couple chops to the lower back, the back of the legs. You know, you think that when you're killing a penalty, some players feel that you might be giving a little more leeway just because you're already shorthanded. Some referees will allow you a little more, some will not. Right in front of the goaltender, though, is generally a place where you're not going to get too much leeway. Right there, the slash on the lower part of the leg, and then the cross-check. He gets called for the slash, and it's a 5-on-3.
Big opportunity for Montreal to get themselves right back in this hockey game. Clean face-off win. Penalty's going to go against Zednik. That is a break for Minnesota, although it's a bust into the face of Andre Zuzin. Off the face-off win by Jimmy Dowd. Zuzin goes to clear. Zednik tries to deflect the clear, and he catches Zuzin right in the face with his stick, and he's going to go to the box.
Could it be 4? No, it's going to be 2, but he did go, the referee did go take a look at Zuzin to see if there was any blood drawn.
That's a huge break, Mike.
It is. Would have been even bigger if, well, if it potentially would have cut him. I don't want to see a player get cut. Frustration on the faces of Montreal coaches.
Claude Julien coming from the minors back in Hamilton. They share the Oilers and the Canadiens, all those prospects. So when Julien left the minors and came to Montreal to coach, when Michel Therrien was fired, Mike, they had to give Edmonton a bit of compensation. Offside is called it for Claude Julien, and of course Andre Savard, the general manager. You know, Ray-Jean Houle was fired a few years ago when this Montreal team was truly a last place team. Some of the upper brass has said in the last few days that those guys are safe. We like the direction this hockey club has gone. We like the direction it's taking. Not quite where we see it yet, but it's way better than when we were a last place team way down in the dumps in the NHL. 4-on-3 Markov. Markov waits, gives to Brisebois. They change to their forehand sides. Here's Markov over to Brisebois. Brisebois, shot, save, rebound. Nope. Yep. Fernandez finally holds. Brisebois came in hard. Kuba took offense to that as Brisebois tried to charge in towards Manny Fernandez. Nice job by Philippe Kuba to stand up for his goaltender.
Well, Kuba gets really physical. I like to see that in his game because he's a big man. Look at the little miscommunication at the top of the circles here. The defenseman and Walls, they're talking. Who's going to switch? Who's going to take them? They both go back. That's Kuba and Walls, and then somebody's left open on the left point, and that's Brisebois, who eventually comes in, and that's when Kuba gets in there and gets physical. I love to see that, as I said, but a little bit of miscommunication is a tough thing on a 4-on-3 because there already is a lot of ice to move around out there, and it's going to be a penalty for Kuba. Coincidental minors, though.
So Kuba and Brisebois go into the box for 2 minutes each, so the power play will stay the same for the next 58 seconds. And things will be even for a short period of time. Dupuis is in the box. Mitchell is in the box. And now Kuba is in the box. Brisebois is in the penalty box. Marcel Hossa comes and helps to serve a penalty here. See what's going on with Claude Julien.
There's a lot. There's an extra. Is there an extra penalty up there? I think there's an extra one to Brisebois.
Yeah, looks like Brisebois is going to pick up 4. Yeah, that's why Hossa came over, Mike.
Yeah, I was a little confused. The extra 2 minutes go up on the board, and the complaints, of course, by Brisebois.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's why Marcel Hossa came and jumped in the box along with Zednik and Brisebois. So that evens things up. 3-on-3 hockey.
It's rare.
This is pond hockey. This is good old Minnesota pond hockey right here. Played it on a full sheet, though. And they're playing it indoors. Shot, score. Craig Rivet, the one-timer, got the pass from the captain, Saku Koivu, and it's a 2-1 hockey game.
Well, this time it was Montreal that took advantage of the extra ice out there. Good, quick shot, quick pass, quick shot. Just a one-timer, and you know what? It's the screen. A little bit by Schultz, who was trying to block it. It got by him. It got by Fernandez. And Rivet, one of only 3 players last year to play every game, puts his team closer, gets him on the board.
6th goal of the year for Craig Rivet. It will come as an even strength goal, albeit 3-on-3. And Montreal's right back in this contest. They trail by just one. 16:41 the time of the goal. Pretty pass by Saku Koivu. Zuzin now to Sekarash. Sekarash, Zuzin. Zuzin flips it down low towards Walls. Andrei Markov will pick up the second assist. So Rivet from Koivu and Markov to make this score 2-1. Across the line, Doug Gilmour. Left for Rivet. Rivet waiting and spinning. Rivet holding. Gives it off to Markov again. Down towards Gilmour. He tried to redirect and Fernandez will freeze.
Well, when you give a team a little bit of life, even though they did earn it, that's when you have to be careful. Right after a goal is scored, there's a very critical time, and you saw Rivet pick that puck up again, and the crowd reacted. They wanted him to shoot it because of the success of his last shot. Puck eventually did get on net, and Gilmour, who's always dangerous in front of the net, deflected it down, but just not on net, and Fernandez covers it up smartly.
449 career goals for Dougie Gilmour. Juneau, Rivet, and Markov. So the same defensive pairing have stayed out there for quite some time. Hendrickson, Nick Schultz, and Lubomir Sekarash. And this might be the first face-off taken this year by Lubomir Sekarash, and he wins it cleanly. Dupuis comes out of the box. So Minnesota has the man advantage for a moment. Rivet a drive, pad save Fernandez. And Schultz takes it behind. Final seconds are going to tick off the penalty to Willie Mitchell as well. Here's Dupuis, shot, save, rebound! Just wide, Schultz. Nifty move by Pascal Dupuis. Nice save by Matthew Guérin. Schultz broke his stick, he comes off, Zuzin comes on. Now Minnesota has the man advantage for 27 seconds as Brisebois picked up that extra 2-minute penalty. Bouchard gets it to Park. Minnesota power play. Played down low, Bouchard. Pad save made Guérin. Kept in by Park. Park running. Another pad save. Guérin in that butterfly. Bouchard to Park. Park bounces it back to Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Bouchard to the point to Mitchell. Mitchell to drive. That was blocked. Nicholas Sundstrom. Park got hit hard in front of the net. Shot by Bouchard, held onto by Guérin. Park got a stick high near the nose.
No call coming up here. Dupuis, right before this all happened, had a very good chance to put the Wild back up by 2. He uses the speed, and he's got a lot of talent with that stick. Cuts in sharp, Rivet backs in, the shot, the save, and it was actually Schultz that came in, and they both took a whack at it. No second shot there, but an excellent first one. And of course, he was a big factor on the Wild's first goal.
Dowd will be tossed. Zoltok will come in. Advantage of having two men who take a lot of face-offs on this line. 1:23 remains. Saku Koivu, second period. Saku Koivu bouncing puck, hits the glass, not the netting. Play continues. Kuba upends Audette, moves it ahead to Brunette, and Brunette gets it ahead. Craig Rivet. Moved up by Markov. Schultz will skate it down. Couple of games of interest in the Western Conference here tonight. Los Angeles Kings are at Columbus. Dallas and Ottawa, that's the two best teams in hockey. They're facing off in Ottawa, but standings-wise, that doesn't matter as much to Minnesota. Dowd has it. They're looking at those teams that are challenging them. Los Angeles is one, Chicago another. Shot save made by Guérin. Chicago's at Philadelphia this evening. Edmonton taking on St. Louis. That is a game of particular interest. And then a little bit later in the West, San Jose and Vancouver. But my point is that Clay will update all of those in our second intermission. Little scoreboard watching, courtesy of Fox Sports Net.
Well, Chicago, the one you talked about, Theo Fleury back in the lineup, and he doesn't assist in that game.
Of course he does.
Well,
you're the one who wanted to make the roster move. Walls will take the face-off against Perreault. Clean win. Mitchell shot. Gloved by Guérin. Guérin's been extremely solid, hasn't he?
well, yeah, he's kept it fairly simple too. He's frozen the puck whenever it's been able to be frozen, and he's getting all the deflections. You see all the pad saves he makes. All of them are going to the corners, and there's just a simple catch and freeze, and giving his team a chance here.
Yannick Perreault led the NHL in face-off wins the last 2 years. Gets tossed. Mitchell, another drive, and another pad saved by Guerin. Wilder pummeling the shots, 31 through nearly 2 periods of play. 22 shots for Montreal. There's another, and Guerin holds on again. If you joined us late, Jose Theodore, last year's Hart and Vezina Trophy Award winner, for lack of a better way to put it, has been benched for now, Mike. We'll see how many games it will last. If Guerin plays very well, they might give Jose a couple of games off.
Well, you never know. I mean, you know, Jose Theodore, he won the Vezina and the Hart. And the last player in Montreal to win it, the Vezina, was Patrick Waugh in '92. The last Hart Trophy winner was Lafleur in '78. It's pretty heady company.
Yeah, there's no question about it. A lot of money committed to this young man as a restricted free agent after last year, though. A season in which he led the NHL in save percentage. Good shot by Ronning a moment ago. Another save by Guerin. Markov gets it to Craig Rivet. Played by Wes Walz. Walz has it. Walz gets it across towards Kuba. Kuba looking towards Loxinen. Now it's Walz again. Walz with the only Minnesota goal here in the second period. Answered by Craig Rivet. And after 40 minutes of play, thanks to Park and Walz, Rivet answering for Montreal, Minnesota, Mike, once again has the lead.
Well, they play so well with it. We'll see if they're able to hang on. You know, Montreal has their crowd here, and they are close.
They have the best record in the NHL, not yet been defeated when leading after 40 minutes. Wild will try to hold on here in Montreal. You're watching Fox Sports Net, your home of the Minnesota Wild. 40 minutes, the only tie was courtesy of Theoren Fleury and the Chicago Blackhawks back on December 26th. Other than that, absolutely perfect. One of the few remaining in the NHL to not have lost a game in regulation when leading after 40 minutes of play. Kilger and the Canadiens, along with Gordy Dwyer, Chad Kilger, Randy McKay, a quick stoppage. And let's go back to the beginning of the night. I have to think that with the coaches honored, the general manager honored, your chief scout honoring, or your director of amateur scouting to be precise, that the guys kind of felt the emotion of Jacques Lemaire and Mario Tremblay on the bench after that ceremony.
Yeah, you know what? I think they truly felt that right from the morning skate this morning with all the, as we say, circus-like atmosphere, which is maybe a little foreign to the Minnesota Wild, but not so much to people who play here. But yeah, right from that, and you know, I guess punctuated by what you just said, the performance, or excuse me, I guess the honoring of those men early. Shot was just wide by Marian Gaborik. Penalty's going to go against the Montreal Canadiens. There's a slash. Yeah, cross-check. Piece of sticks laying all over the ice. Generally, that means someone got whacked. So the culprit will be a Montreal Canadian player, and Minnesota will have their 6th power play of the night. Back to the point you make about Jacques. If you go back to year 1, Mike, Minnesota, a truly expansion team, on the first ever trip back, where there was a press conference for Jacques Lemaire's return. They actually tied the Canadiens that year. Then went to Toronto, got waxed in Toronto, one of the worst losses, but still. And I think Jacques was so proud of them because they were truly undermanned then. Then last year's embarrassment, this year so far so good. Ronning feeds it over to the side. Be nice for Minnesota to get that 2-goal cushion back. Susan has it. Craig Rivet for cross-checking. 8 shots on 5 power plays tonight for Minnesota. Kept it at the blue line by Ronning. Played by Gaborik. Gaborik to Dupuis. Back to Marian Gaborik. Bouchard is on the near side boards. Dupuis. Beauchamon stays with him. Gaborik has it behind. Marian Gaborik to clip Ronning. Ronning flips it around towards Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Brisebois quickly in on it. The 2 French Canadians. There's the shot by Gaborik, trying to go short side. And Guerin able to push it aside, and the Canadiens finally able to clear. Five of the shots on the power play came on the last opportunity with the man advantage. Last full opportunity, I should say. Last power play was short-lived, just over about 20 seconds of extra man advantage time. Brunette is out there. Joltok and Jim Dowd. Ronning and Zuzin are at the points. Joltok being pushed upon by Andre Markov. Brunette leaves it over to Jimmy Dowd. Dowd brings it over to the near side boards, threads it back to Brunette. Here's Joltok. Joltok, Zuzin, Joltok, score! Power play goal! Zuzin kind of fanned on the shot. Joltok was able to finish, and Minnesota once again leads by 2. Kind of an interesting play because Zoltak made the pass, but it made it through the defender. That surprised Zuzin, so he didn't get it all. He got a piece of it. It kind of fanned, as you mentioned, and went right off towards Zoltak, who really had an open net at the side because Guerin was playing the original intended shooter, which was Zuzin. And they know it.
But they'll take it. 10th of the year for Sergei Zoltak. Zoltak had all those opportunities in the recent games, Mike, and we were talking about it. Made no mistake that time as he scores and gives Minnesota back their 2-goal lead. Koivu tries to dump it in. Third power play goal of the year for Sergei Zoltak, who in the 99-2000 season had a career best 26 goals in a Montreal uniform. Moved ahead, sent down the length of the ice. Fernandez forced to play. Audette Redney clearing attempt, looking in front, and just missing Jan Bulis. Bulis the redirection. That went just wide of the Minnesota net. Audette Red, where Manny Fernandez was going to try to clear that puck out. Got to it, tried to center it, but no finish for Montreal.
Second such read in this hockey game, Mike.
Here's Koivu. Koivu waits, gives it back. Bouchemont, the shot. It's wide here. Second Koivu again. Pierre-Marc Bouchard came in quickly. You know, we always talk about Minnesota being held to 2 goals or less in so many games. Well, they've got 3 again tonight. They had 3 the other night against Ottawa. They had 3 the other night before that against St. Louis. Offense, that 1 goal makes a huge difference.
Well, we've talked so much about that magic number between 2 and 3, and it's really amazing the difference.
Dupuis, Park, he tried to go high, glove side, missed the net. Good pass from Dupuis, who got the puck initially from Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Bouchemont gets it up and around and out of the zone. Sekerash. And a delayed offside against Minnesota. Francois Bouchemont pushes it into the zone. NHL debut, as we mentioned, for the young defenseman with Stephane Quintal on the shelf. 18 games remaining for Montreal. Quintal could miss as many as half of those with this recent hamstring injury. That's a big loss. Zoltak across Dupuis. Oh my, Dupuis had a good chance there, could not finish.
Puck was rolling on him, that's why he couldn't get all of it.
Yep, I think initially the net was wide open for Dupuis, and he generally doesn't miss those opportunities. Love to score to this building, there's no secret to that. Kmizarek will pick it up and gets it out of the zone. Richard Zednik behind the net. Zednik looking in front. Kept in at the blue line by Gordy Dwyer. Now Chad Kilger. Kilger quickly converging was Lubomir Sekerash, and it's pushed back out of the zone. Andrei Markov will pick it up. Kilger gives it off. Rive had jumped into the play. And the Canadiens once again keep it at the blue line. Down goes Kilger, courtesy of Zuzin. Shot by Markov. Pad save made by Fernandez. Penalty's going to go against Andre Zuzin. Brown wants to go with Gordy Dwyer.
And he turtles. He tried to draw the extra penalty there, and I think he might have succeeded.
Brown was quick to drop the gloves.
Well, when I saw Dwyer jump over the boards, we knew it wasn't to close the gap on the scoring. He was out there to either get in a fight or to draw a penalty in feigning to get into a fight. I think he may have done the latter.
You're saying he's not offensive, but he can be offensive. Let's check in with Clay as they sort things out.
All right, guys, Sergei Zoltak scored his 10th goal of the year just a minute ago. It could actually be his 11th. Lubomir Sekerash scored his 2nd goal of the year Tuesday in Ottawa, but it looks like it will be taken away. Video coordinator Todd Woodcroft noticed that Zoltak actually tipped that shot, and Wild players confirmed that later. So the team is going to send a tape to the league to get that officially changed if they can. It was hailed as that much-needed confidence builder when Sekerash scored it, but he told me today he still feels more confident than he did in past weeks, and the fact that the goal really belongs to Zoltak doesn't bother him one bit.
Shot by Audette. Thank you, Clay. Kept in by Brisebois. Given to Markov. He gets it across to Saku Koivu. Power play number 6 for Montreal. Minnesota scored on their 6th opportunity with the man advantage. Across the line is Koivu. Gives it to Donald Audette. Back to Saku Koivu. He looked in front. Nobody was there. Zednik and Koivu together on the power play. Markov to Audette. Shot by Koivu. Grabbed and held on to by Manny Fernandez.
Good little feed there, and Koivu is dangerous, especially when he gets around those inside hash marks. And he gets one, doesn't look like he got all of it, and the puck rolled up on Manny Fernandez. You see that quick little play right back to the middle of the ice. It's a better scoring angle, and it's a smart one. Audette goes bang, bang there, and the puck rolls up Fernandez, and he smartly grabs that one and hangs on.
Koivu wins the draw. Markov gets it to Audette. Donald Audette, the shot. Pad save Manny Fernandez. Markov keeps it in at the blue line. Koivu holds deep inside the Minnesota zone. Koivu in front. Just missed Zednik. Here's Brisebois. Rebound, score! Richard Zednik, power play goal. 3-2 hockey game. Took it right out of midair. Pretty hands by Richard Zednik. His 26th goal of the season.
You know, he's been knocking on the door all evening long, and he finally is given an opportunity right in front with the goaltender down. Look at Fernandez, will go down. He will make the save on the point shot, but the puck is batted out of the air, and you know, there's not too many goaltenders. That's a kind of reflex save or just a fortunate save that you have to make, because they're used to seeing that puck come off the ice and not 2 feet off the ice. Zednik gets his 26th, and once again, the team is 1 goal away.
So perseverance by Montreal. They know they need to gain points. Here are their remaining games. The teams they are chasing, Mike, many of them have played fewer games. So they have more opportunities to gain points, obviously, in the standings. Marcel Hossa behind the net. Hossa, Kuba stays with them. Gives it over to Gilmore. Zednik from Brisebois and Koivu. It's a power play goal, so both teams score on their 6th power play opportunities of the night. Joe Juneau thought he was going to get a chance there. Behind the net, Marcel Hossa. Marcel Hossa and Kuba continue to battle. Markov picks it up, and Fernandez will be happy to take the stoppage and play. Canadians doing a nice job getting themselves back in this hockey game. Well, the first time he scored 25, now he scored 26. Just the 2nd goal in 13 games, though, for Richard Zednik in this offensively challenged Montreal Canadiens team. Remember the playoffs, McLaren just hammered him last year. He was out for the remainder of that series and the 2nd round series against Carolina, and McLaren was out a bunch of money. Zednik right back on the ice with Yannick Perreault and Doug Gilmore. 3-2 hockey game, lots of time remains. Zednik quickly in. Here's Brisebois, and a blocker saved by Manny Fernandez. Moved up and out with the Seattle sweater tonight is Cliff Ronning. If you joined us late, Brad Bombardier, he's just all banged up. Couldn't go tonight. Hopefully he'll be back on Saturday against St. Louis. Bombardier's out of the lineup. Jason Marshall is also out of the lineup this evening. Bushaman chases it down. Seen a good share of ice time in his NHL debut. Moved over to the near side. And picked up by Brisebois. Matt Johnson still. That back injury's pretty much improved, but he's scratched for the 9th time in 11 games. Sekerash, big shot. Over the glove hand of Garral. Kuba. Gabrick trying to redirect. Gabrick has it in his skates. Gabrick looking for a chance to get a shot on net. Brisebois stayed with him. And Kuba has it. Kuba lead pass to Marian Gabrick. Gabrick makes the move at center. Gets it down towards Jeremy Stevenson. He'll come in and try to finish the check on Randy McKay. Thomas Sarek, another drive by Sekerish, and that's tipped into the netting. Well, don't forget, fans, Rainbow Foods presents the Wild Wednesday Family Pack, including 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, and 4 Cokes for just $99. Tickets for the Wild Wednesday Family Nights in March go on sale March 1st at noon, exclusively at Rainbow Foods. Remember, quantities are limited. Wild Wednesdays, hopefully some wild times well into the spring for Minnesota. Be nice to get another 2 points here. This was a trip, Mike, where we were thinking take 3 of 6, and that'd be great. Now there's a chance if they can hold on here, they can go and get 6 of 6. But lots of hockey remains before that. And Koivu and the Canadiens are going to bring it all this period. Walls ahead to Richard Park. Park gets a hold of the loose puck. Koivu. Koivu picks it up deep inside the Montreal zone. Koivu leads to Jan Bulis. Bulis across the line. Bulis with the move. Bulis on the backhand. And Fernandez with the pad save. Walls Flips it up the sideboards. Park tries to get it out. Wes Walz has a goal tonight, as does Richard Park. And Sergei Zoltok. Zuzin takes the puck from Manny Fernandez. Given over to the near side. Jim Dowd has to retreat to get a hold of it. He does. And will work it through center. Flips it in and off the glass. Andrew Brunette quickly onto it. Brunette leaves for Zoltok. Zoltok. And Joe Juneau. Juneau can't get it out. Dowd takes it. Moves it down towards Brunette. Brunette on the wraparound. Tries to go forehand. Good poke check by Andrei Markov. Dowd now behind cycling. Jim Dowd pushes it back to Andrew Brunette. Brunette to Zoltok. Zoltok a nifty move. Zoltok, Brunette. Puck is free. And Markov was there again defensively. Good bit of cycling by this line of Minnesota. Juneau looking back to Marcel Hossa. Mitchell clears the rebound aside and Gabrick picks it up. His buddy Marcel Hossa is on him strong. Gabrick pushed down by Brisebois. Picked up by Hendrickson. Hendrickson looking in front. Brisebois with a poke check. Now it's shot in front. Score! Great pass from Jeremy Stevenson to Marian Gabrick. And Minnesota leads by 2 again. What a great pass.
Marian Gabrick garners so much attention when he comes over that blue line that people forget about him once they come at him. Look at this. It's like bowling pins. They all come at him, but then they forget about him as soon as the puck's off his stick. But he's learning how to play without that too until he gets it back. And he rams one upstairs. That's his second in as many games. And what a nice little play there. You gotta love that. That many guys pay attention to him, and then he backs off and he finishes the play.
Look how he fought through the check of not one but 2 Montreal players, Mike. And that's the difference of Marian Gabrick now than maybe Marian Gabrick in the past. And that's what Jacques Lemaire was talking about. He's got more fight now.
Yeah, he wants him to work hard. He wants him to work through, keep his legs moving. And he certainly did that on that play.
9:24, the time of the goal. Gabrick on a perfect pass from Jeremy Stevenson. Gets his team leading 28th of the season. Darby Hendrickson was the trailer on the play. He'll pick up an assist. And Minnesota leads 4-2. This is the identical score in which Minnesota defeated Montreal at the XL Energy Center last year. They lost in this building by a score of 4-0 in year 1. They tied the Canadiens here at what was then the Molson Center. Still the same building though, but it's the Bell Center now. Ronning brings it out. That's a huge goal for Minnesota. Zoltok on the power play. Gabrick even strength. Minnesota leads by 2. And now we're under 10 minutes of play. Dykhouse. That has quieted the fans here at the Bell Center in Montreal. Nick Schultz flips it down towards Guerin. He holds on. We step aside. Gabrick with 2-2.
Well, Gabrick took the puck. He took the hit. He fed it to Hendrickson, who will back it up to Stevenson. He makes a nice pass under the defender's stick. And, well, look at Gabrick. When he gets the puck there, he's dangerous.
He's not Slovakian. When he gets the puck there, he's Finnish. And he did a nice job of it. Marian Gabrick, 2 goals in 2 games after going 11 games without a goal scored. In Columbus this evening, the Los Angeles Kings, who are closing in on a potential playoff trip, have lost. The final score, Columbus Blue Jackets 3, Los Angeles Kings 1. And with 18 games remaining, they are 5 points out of the 8th spot, presently held by the Edmonton Oilers at 67 points in the standings. Edmonton playing St. Louis tonight, so we'll continue to track the scores as they come in. Being that it is our Eastern time zone start, a lot of the games are not completed. Columbus, of course, also in the Eastern time zone. Off the post, off the face-off from Montreal. Clean win by Koivu. Now it's Gabrick. Gabrick waiting. Gabrick looking. Tried to shoot. Dykhouse got in his way. Thomas Sarek is back defensively. Gabrick has it for Minnesota in the neutral ice area and gives to Philippe Kuba. Kuba dumps it into the zone. Ronning. Thomas Sarek tried to stay with them. And we're going to have the icing call. That is an icing call. Treasure Island Resort and Casino trivia question. All right, name them. 7 teams Doug Gilmour, the 39-year-old, in his 20th season has played for. Of course, it starts with St. Louis. That's who he was drafted by in the 7th round, 5 years there. 3+ seasons with Calgary, including the 1989 Stanley Cup. 5+ with the Leafs. 1+ with New Jersey. Chicago, Buffalo, and now right here in Montreal. Well traveled, well decorated, and he's got that Stanley Cup from '89 when Doug Risebrough was an assistant coach for the Calgary Flames. Played by Koivu. Rive bumps through Ronning behind the net. Rive shot, score! Montreal will not go away. Second goal of the night for Craig Rive, and we once again have a one-goal hockey game. Now the fans are getting their money's worth.
Well, Rive is a big boy. That's a lot of mass moving through the crease, and you cannot just brush him aside. He gets the puck, and he moves right across the top and wraps it. And he beats Fernandez to the far post. Rive has his second of the night, and on both occasions, he closed the gap to 1.
Well, Minnesota came into tonight, Mike, leading the National Hockey League, allowing only 35 goals against in the third period. They've allowed 2 goals here in the third period so far tonight. Donald Audette, Jan Gulas will gain the assists on the goal by Craig Rive, his second of the evening and 7th of the season. In front, Sundstrom, and it's gloved by Manny Fernandez. Sundstrom tried to slide it underneath the glove hand of the Minnesota goaltender.
You know, people would have thought, and maybe some did, that with 10 minutes left and a 2-goal lead or 9 minutes left, it would have been pretty safe. But now at 8 minutes, it's only a 1-goal difference, and another good shot there by Montreal. So you're right, Mike. They're not going away, and they certainly want to turn their season around. They're seeing games dwindle.
Wild scored on 2 of their first 2 shots in the third period, but they've been answered 2 times. The goal by Zoltok answered by Zednik. Off the draw, Juneau tried to get the shot away. Marcel Hossa on the forecheck. Darby Hendrickson deep inside his own zone, and it's pushed up ahead to Richard Park by Dupuis. Park, bad angle drive, glances off the blocker of Matthew Guérin. Picked up by Joe Juneau. Juneau ahead, and Park wants it. Craig Rive, first time in his NHL career, he has scored 2 goals in a single game. He's done it here tonight, his 6th and 7th goals of the season.
One thing the Montreal Canadiens also are enjoying are some goals, and they have averaged under 2 over the last 12 games. Well, they have 3 in this game and are looking for more.
Cleared up and out of the zone. So both teams that have not been scoring a lot are scoring here a lot, especially in the third period, making for quite an entertaining affair. Losers of 4 straight games, and during this month of February, the shot by Gilmore knocked aside, in which the Canadiens have only won 3 times, Mike. They've only scored 21 total goals in 11 games. Across towards Rive. He's never scored 2 in a game, and he's obviously never had a hat trick. We hope he doesn't get one tonight. Cleared out by Minnesota. 3 wins in the month of February for a team trying to make it to the postseason, as Brisebois touches and the icing is called. This block a moment ago may have somewhat saved the day.
Well, Zuzin's been very involved. And look at this. Gilmore tries to go cross ice. There's Zednik, who already has a goal in the game. But Zuzin, who has a couple penalties, has drawn a couple penalties, who puts up a couple points on the board. He has been very involved after being out last game in Ottawa because it was at the birth of his own child back in St. Paul.
Curtis Joseph got plenty of support as his Red Wings rocked the Maple Leafs 6-2. First time Cujo's faced the Leafs since going to play for the Detroit Red Wings. A couple of finals starting to come in. Actually, that's a third period score. Pretty close to final, though. Played by Wes Walls. Walls intercepts. Walls shot, save, rebound. Comes aside, Brisebois. That.
He pushed the net off.
Yeah, he sure did. That's a penalty. Van Matzenhoven's going to call it, and I think it's a good call. I think it's a good call. That's exactly what Don Van Matzenhoven said, is that Brisebois pushed the net off the moorings on purpose.
Got his shoulder, I think, under the crossbar.
I think he did.
Stood up.
Yeah, I think he did.
And Walls was snipping around there, so the rest of the Wild. And you see the play develop, and it's intercepted. Walls gets a shot, but watch number 43 on the left side of your screen. He'll back up, and there it is. He pops the net off. He did not have the momentum that would normally have done that. And Walls, again, an opportunist from defense to offense, and oh, he almost put this one away, or at least put it back to 2.
So Minnesota with their 7th power play of the game. Brunette behind the net. Dowd, Sholtok. Minnesota scored on their last power play opportunity. That was Sholtok with an assist credited to Andre Zuzin. Here is Zuzin. Jim Dowd, down low. Brunette over towards Ronning. Couldn't handle it. Ronning bumps it down to Brunette again. Brunette behind the net. Over to the side to Andre Zuzin. Zuzin across the blue line. That pass comes out of the zone, and Ronning has to retreat. Be a good opportunity for Minnesota to regain that 2-goal lead. Also, good opportunity for Minnesota to kill 2 minutes off this clock as they lead by 1. 5:33 remains. Marian Gaborik shot was partially blocked. Gaborik gets it up towards the point. Taken instead by Brunette. Marian Gaborik breaking in. Pen save made by Garrall. Here is Dowd. Dowd, Gaborik, and Brunette. Dowd. Gaborik. Kuba. Big shot. Rebound shot. Oh, off the side of the net by Sekarash. And cleared out by Montreal.
He fanned on that. The puck was rolling, and if he'd have gotten all of it, I'm sure he would have been able to put it at the net, but just didn't get it on his stick right.
Here comes Dupuis. Dupuis off the skate of Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Bouchard takes it under 5 minutes remains. Marian Gaborik holds the puck on the far side boards. Gaborik stick handles. Gaborik looks and waits. Gaborik fires. That shot deflected just wide. Kuba tried to bury it off the backboards. Philippe Kuba. Kuba to Bouchard. Sneaking in is Gaborik. Bouchard's looking that way. Bouchard leaves it for Dupuis. Sekarash in front. Puck is loose and cleared but not out. Kuba's drive. That was blocked by Juno. And that should pretty much do it for the 2-minute minor against Patrice Brisebois or delay a game.
It does chew up the clock, though, which also helps.
2 shots that time with the man advantage. 11 shots on 7 power plays tonight. 1 power play goal for Minnesota. Walls intercepts the Koivu pass intended for Donald Audette. Give it ahead to Cliff Ronning. Ronning cutting across. He scores! Cliff Ronning gives Minnesota a 5-3 lead. What a hockey game.
Every time Montreal answered the bell, the Wild answered again to make it a 2-goal difference. It's been back and forth all game long. Look at this nice move. And by cutting to the middle, not only does he open up his shooting lane, but he takes that check off of him. He cuts so sharp that it's like playing crack the whip. And he cuts back against the grain, and he throws it at the net. A nice high shot, blocker side, and gives the Minnesota Wild that 2-goal cushion once again in this hockey game.
Goal is the 12th of the year for Cliff Ronning, the veteran. Ronning scoring against Montreal. Minnesota leads by a score of 5-3, and they are starting to depart the Bell Center here in Montreal. Walls picks up the lone assist. So it came right after the power play had ended for Minnesota. And it's Ronning with his 12th from Walls. 5-3. Minnesota leads. Worked across Richard Zednik. Has it for Montreal. He fell. Perreault tried to leave it. Now Brunette has it. Gaborik brings it out. Gaborik coming around. Gaborik makes the move. Guerin makes the save. Markov. Bouncing puck. Schultz. Guerin will keep the puck alive. Gives to Andre Markov. And Markov moves ahead. Brisebois pushes it out of the zone. Left for Koivu. Shot. Oh, he just missed blocker side. Wild scored 5 goals on opening night against Boston. 6 at Phoenix when Gaborik had 6 points in October. 5 at Los Angeles when Gaborik had a hat trick in November. 5 in Tampa Bay, or against Tampa Bay, pardon me, in December. 5 in January against Vancouver. And now 5 here, and hopefully adding on with Cliff Ronning in February. Ronning with his 12th. Minnesota with a 5 spot. They lead again. Held to 2 or fewer goals in 19 of their last 23 games, but for the first time since that win over Vancouver in January, They put a 5 spot on the board. 6th time this year Minnesota has scored 5 or more goals. Season high 6 in Phoenix when Gaborik had 6 points that evening. Marcel Hossa. Gaborik has a goal tonight, his 2nd in as many games. Park has a goal tonight, his 2nd in as many games. Ronning, Zoltok, and Park with Wes Walz, they all round out the scoring. And it's been a good night. Power play has worked only once in 7 tries, Mike, but it worked and it was a big goal, a momentum turning goal.
There's been a lot of those in this hockey game, and that's one thing the Wild have done so well this season is answer the bell when they've needed to at crucial times of the hockey game, and they're getting it done through the depth of their team as well. It's not just 1 or 2 guys.
Juno. Hendrickson wins the faceoff. Darby's been good in the faceoff circles here tonight. Nicholas Sundstrom, Marcel Hossa, Joe Juno. Under 2 minutes remains here in regulation in Montreal. Only meeting of these 2 teams this season. Shot in front. Sundstrom had the loose puck and he almost was able to make it a 1-goal game again. Joe Juno over towards Manny Fernandez. Here's Sundstrom, went to the backhand, couldn't finish. Dupuis bounces it up and out of the zone. Rivet with 2 goals tonight. Minnesota perfect when leading after 2 periods. Not a single loss this year. Best record in the NHL, but I have to say, Mike, this is the first time we've seen them do it this way. Let's check downstairs with Clay.
All right, boys, here's our GMC Youth Hockey Team of the Night, the Centennial Hockey U10 Girls Red Squad. And if you'd like to see your youth team on TV, send the name, address, and your info to the address here on your screen and watch the Minnesota Wild here on Fox Sports Net. GMC, official vehicle of the Wild, and Fox Sports Net. Back upstairs.
Well, an exciting one down the road in Ottawa, Ontario, nation's capital here in Canada. In overtime, the Ottawa Senators defeat the Dallas Stars. So Ottawa rebounds from the 3-0 loss to the Minnesota Wild and beats the best team in the West. So they're back as the top team in hockey, the Ottawa Senators.
And if you think about it, Mike, with that Dallas loss in overtime and a Minnesota Wild win here, which it certainly looks like it'll happen, the Minnesota Wild only have 3 wins less than Dallas.
Unbelievable.
If you think about that, that is incredible. Dallas, of course, on the strength of all their ties, are leading the Western Conference.
Final minute of play. Here comes Cliff Ronning. Ronning empty net, shot, score. Ronning has 2 goals tonight. And Minnesota leads 6-3. This one is over, and I guarantee you, Jacques Lemaire might be able to fly the plane himself from here to St. Louis tonight.
And it ties, as you mentioned, the season high in goal output for the Minnesota Wild. Look at this. Ronning has a nice curling shot all the way down, puts it inside the post. His 2nd of the night.
13th of the year, 2 goals and an assist for Cliff Ronning this evening. 54.2 seconds remaining. This is one empty building.
And even Jacques Lemaire cannot hold back his smile, and usually very stoic, but very happy to have that kind of performance in front of this crowd, especially.
Well, especially after a standing ovation right at the beginning of the night for Risebrough, Lapointe, Lemaire, and Tremblay. 25th anniversary of the greatest team in hockey history. 132 points in the regular season. And 76-77 Montreal Canadiens and their head coach Scotty Bowman. Under 30 seconds. What a pretty pass by Stevenson to Gaborik to give the Wild the 4-2 lead here tonight. Zuzin has been part of the scoring. Zoltok, of course. Dupuis and Bouchard factored in the first. And those, how many numbers of passes, family passes? 300 or something?
300, yeah.
Those 300 family members. A lot of them wearing Minnesota gear for Dupuis and Bouchard, Lemaire and Tremblay. They're going to be kind of all smiles downstairs, aren't they? Well, maybe not all of them. Some of them pretty much still have loyalty to the Habs, I'm sure.
Maybe once a Habs fan, always a Habs fan. I'm not sure.
I think that's a law here, isn't it? Pushed across Dykhouse. Carl Dykhouse shot. Screen in front of Manny Fernandez. And let us not forget that Manny's going to get a victory against the Montreal Canadiens. And for the first time in franchise history here in Montreal, the Minnesota Wild have defeated the Montreal Canadiens. The final score, Minnesota 6, Montreal 3.
No disappointments here this evening. Once again, through and through, a very solid effort by this hockey team.
We're going to take a timeout, come back with so much more as Minnesota gets another 2 big points in the standings, and Manny gains the victory. So long from this bastion of hockey history, the Bell Center in Montreal, where the Minnesota Wild hold on to defeat the Montreal Canadiens, final score 6-3. The Wild return to Fox Sports Net next Thursday night from Nashville, Tennessee, where they'll battle the Nashville Predators. Live coverage from Nashville begins Thursday at 7 o'clock. You've been watching Fox Sports Net, your home of the Minnesota Wild. A happy homecoming for the coach and the crew here in Montreal.